Welcome to the latest chapter of the WNBA, a slow-motion implosion brought to you by mismanagement, star player injuries, and a league that somehow forgot that basketball is supposed to be entertaining. Let's rewind. Just a few months ago, Caitlin Clark was a golden ticket. The rookie phenom from Iowa set the entire sports world on fire. Wood or three-point shooting swagger and record-breaking college run when she entered the WNBA. The buzz was unreal. Suddenly arenas were selling out, merged with flying off shelves, and Hispania and actually remember the league existed. But here's the problem: that was a whole plan. If you're here for the real story and not to filter version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. One player, one savior. And when she got injured, the entire house of cards start wobbling hard. Viewership down by more than 55%, ticket prices flash, and the crowd at games, let's just say your local high school, and probably pulls more energy. The moment Clark was sidelined, the league's momentum flatlined like someone pulled the plug on a barely there both. And for all the talk of grown again, it became painfully clear that the WNBA had no backup plan, no rising stars given spotlight, no new marketing angles. It was just a lot of confused executive hoping Caitlin could either knee and get back to saving the brand. And honestly, that's not just bad planning, it's embarrassing, because while Clark was out, the hits just kept coming. Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Howe, one by one top players started dropping like dominoes. And the worst part, the lead didn't even try to pretend they cared. There were no serious conversations about player safety, no investigations into hard fouls or dirty plays, no public reassurances about what the league was doing. Protected athletes, just silence, deafening corporate silence. Meanwhile, the players, they noticed, and some of them started talking on social media, in interviews, even in press conferences. With the air was thick with frustration, and they caught out the double standards, the lack of respect, the jealousy festering in locker rooms and behind the scenes, especially when it came to Caitlin Clark's fame. Because let's be honest, not everyone was thrilled to see her dominate the headlines. Some our own peers acted like she had earned it, like she was just the media creation, and that energy had trickled down into games, into the officiating, into dangerous play. Yeah, that left fans and analysts like asking, is this really just basketball? The vibe around the league turned toxic fast, and fans felt it. You had people who tuned in for Caitlin Clark was support women's basketball, who now felt alienated by lead that couldn't even pretend to protect it. SARS. And then came that night, right? An arena that was supposed to be packed, barely half for a flat performance. Players dragging themselves to quarters of felt more like chores in competition, and in the middle of it all, the commissioner herself, visibly frustrated, looking around like she couldn't believe this was where things landed. She stood up, no warning, and just left. And honestly, who could blame? Or when you're the face of a league in crisis, and you're watching your flagship team perform in front of what feels like a pity, and meeting the urge to disappear makes sense. But let's be clear, walking out isn't leadership, is a symptom, a big blinking sign that says we have no idea what we're doing. Because here's the real tea: Caitlin Clark should be the story. She should be part of the story, one of many. But instead, the WNBA tied entire identity to her hype. And now the hype is limping off the court and compression sleeve. And in her absence, we're level league that doesn't know how to keep the lights on. Without her is not just the injuries, is the inability to pivot, the refusal to address, have to play, the bizarre officiating that seems allergic to consistency, and leadership vacuum that become impossible to ignore. The players are talking to fans, are angry, the arenas are empty, the commissioner storming out. At what point do we call this what it is, a crisis? And while we're on the topic of bad vibes, let's talk awards season. You think this would be a moment to shine a spotlight on resilience, skill, and leadership, but instead we're headed straight for a mess of snobs, politics, and passive-aggressive speeches. Fans are already predicting it's some MVP candidate or racking up numbers, but losing games. Others are carrying struggling teams with zero recognition. The Caitlin Clark factor looms here. To would she be a stout entirely because of or injury, or handed a rookie award, just acquired the noise. Either way, the whole thing feels more like a reality show elimination round and a celebration of talent. People are bracing for drama, and not the good kind. The league has reached a tipping point. There are whispers of player boycotts, rumors of internal meetings where top athletes are pushing for accountability, and fans, they're not waiting around, they're tweeting, they're unsubscribing, they're pulling up old highlight reel from 2019 and wondering when things went so sideways. What's wild is that this could have been a renaissance year, a breakout season. Instead, it's turning into a cautionary tale, a league that bid everything on one player, that failed, protected stars, that ignore the warning signs of toxic culture, and now finds itself bleeding relevance while as leadership exits stage left. If this was a movie, we be entered the third act, the storm before the possible redemption arc. But here's the twist: the script isn't written yet. The players are making noise, the fans still care, the potential, it's there. But unless the league stop treating these problems like PR hiccups and start addressing the actual right, this ends in a crash, not a comeback. And honestly, that would be a tragedy, not just for Caitlin Clark, not just for Cunningham or Hull, but for every young athlete who grew up dreaming of a WNBA, up in the pinnacle of the game, only to see it unravel under the weight of bad decisions and ego. So yeah, the commissioner stormed out. Maybe she couldn't face what the league has become. Maybe she needed a moment to collect herself before the press conference bin, or maybe, just maybe, it was the most honest thing she's done all season. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. If the WNBA wants to survive this moment, it needs me. More than damage control, it needs soul searching, it needs transparency, it needs to stop treating its stars like liabilities and start treating them like investments. It needs to admit that a lead build around one person was never built to last. And for all the fans still watching, still hoping, still caring, you deserve better than PR statements and choreograph apologies. You deserve a league that respects its players, earn your trust, and knows how to put on a show without needing one player to carry on her back. So with a fix it, or will we be back here next year talking about new injury, a new walkout, a new disaster? Drop your predictions in the comments, and if you're just here for the chaos, don't worry, we've got plenty more coming. Subscribe for the next meltdown. The commissioner walking out a nearly empty arena isn't just a PR nightmare, it's a metaphor, a lead build on shaky foundations collapsing under the weight of its own denial, and the silence after that exit louder than any buzzer. Now here's where things get even messy. Behind the scenes sources, yes, the kind that only talk on background or whisper about friction at every level of the league. Some players are allegedly frustrated. Their careers, their safety, and frankly their relevance are being overshadowed by one media darling. And it's not that Caitlin Clark asked for this, she didn't invent a hype machine, she's just a one stuck inside. Hide it, but the resentment, it's real, some of it from veterans who putting years without a fraction coverage, others from rookies were hoping for a breakout season, only find themselves either ignored or worse encouraged. Go at Clark in games to make a name for themselves. Think about that, you're incentivizing aggression, creating tension, and enacting shock. When elbows fly and ankles roll, there's a thin line between competition and chaos, and lately the WNBA have been skating right off the edge of it. The footage doesn't lie. Hard fouls ago and called cheap shots dressed up as defensive intensity, and the officiating somewhere between inconsistent and invisible. If refs are supposed to be the adults in the room, then somebody forgot to send them the memo. And as players keep dropping Clark, Cunningham, how you start to wonder, is just bad luck, or is a league's refusal to protect its own talent finally catching up with it? Was wild is it the fans have been screaming this from the sideline for weeks. Every replay it goes viral. Every injury slow-mo, every highlight reel that ends with someone face down on the court. People aren't as watching, they're watching with rage, because it's obvious what's happening, and the league's refusal to acknowledge it don't feel like gaslighting. You can't market a league as a future sports and then let its brightest stars get body without consequence. You can be about disrespect for the media while failing to create a product that respects itself. And now the fallouts here: sponsorships are getting nervous, networks are quietly adjusting their coverage, and fans who showed of a spectacle are realizing the drama off the court might be the only thing left it entertaining, if we're being on. As some of the current WNBA coverage reads like a bad reality show, think the Real Housewives of poorly run leagues. You got jealousy, betrayal, denial, and now a dramatic exit by major character. We're one confessional interview away from for Bravo territory. And while that might be fun for Twitter, it's a disaster for the sport, because here's the thing: women's basketball doesn't need to be saved, it needs to be respected. It needs infrastructure, it needs storytelling that elevates every player, not just the one with the most camera-friendly jump shot. The potential is there, it always has been, but you can't grow league by using one person as a bandage for every bleeding wound, and right now those wounds are wide open. The most painful part: this could have been avoided. Imagine a league where Caitlin Clark wasn't carrying the entire marketing department on her back, where Sophie Cunningham's storylines were front and center, where Lexi Howe was on magazine covers and not in a boot on the sidelines. Imagine leadership that actually lead, that didn't let jealousy fester behind locker room doors, that didn't pit players against each other in the name of grit and toughness, that didn't dingoes media every time a controversy broke out, only to reappear with a stiff statement and a clip or graphic on Instagram. Instead, we got this bizarre Frankenstein of a season, a league limping toward the playoffs while pretending nothing's wrong, surrounded by players who were either injured, frustrated, or pretending real hard not to be both. Locker room interviews awkward. The fan energy muted, the vibes pure. We need to reset button. And you know what's really going to light the powder keg? Award season, because there's no scenario with league and hand out MVP or deep year wife or even rookie year without backlash. It's a lose. Lose if Clog wins anything. People will scream favoritism. If she gets snubbed, the backlash would be just as loud, maybe louder. No one will be happy. And the worst part, it won't feel like celebration. It'll feel like damage control. The award this year, I like throwing a black tie gala in burning building. You're giving out trophies while the foundation's crumbling beneath your feet. Meanwhile, fan bases are going to war online. Every tweet, every ESPN graphic, every hot take from a talking head just dissected like as gospel players are some tweeting each other. Reporters are tiptoeing to interviews like they're on a minefield. It's not as a league in crisis, it's a league in freefall. And the clock is ticking. Players are beginning to realize their collective power. The murmurs reform are getting louder. Some are openly hinting that unless real changes happen, protection, promotion, and respect, they might start exploring other options. Can we see a walkout, a public boycott off season power plays, a shake the league to its core? At this point, it wouldn't be shocking, because when athletes feel unsafe and supported and unheard, they stop playing nice. And if the WNBA leadership thinks the storm is gonna pass without consequences, they've got another thing coming. The choice: simple, reform or rupture. And that commissioner walkout, that wasn't just a dramatic moment. That was a canary in the coal mine, a signal that even the league's top brass can pretend everything's okay anymore. You don't walk out of your own product unless you know it's broken, so where does the WNBA go from here? It starts with honesty. When a leadership team that stopped treating criticism like betrayal, with referees who call the damn fouls, with media team that knows how to market more than one face, with a commissioner who doesn't dip when things awkward, it continues with players speaking louder, organizing stronger, and refusing to sell for anything less than what they deserve. Not just airtime, not just award shows, respect on the court, in the locker rooms, from the fans, from the league itself. Because here's the real heartbreaking, all of this: people want to care, they want to show up, they want by the jerseys. Watch the games. Denver Austin rivalries, but when the league keeps fumbling its biggest opportunities, when it shrinks in the face of every crisis, how our fans oppose it, keep believing how our players oppose to the ball isn't league's court. Now the time for silence is over. The fans are talking, the players are pushing, and the world is watching to see what happens next. Will the WNBA finally evolve into the lead it was always meant to be, or will it? A jealousy, mismanagement, and ego sent it spiraling into irrelevance. We'll see, but one thing's for sure, nobody is forgetting their commissioner walk out anytime soon. The WNBA amid freefall, fans are side-eye and whole operation, and a commissioner just made the most viral exits in someone put the table on a Real Housewives, and honestly, it felt like a reality TV moment. All that was missing was a wine glass and a dramatic soundtrack. But this is into some petty squabbles. Is not just sports being sports or haters gonna hate. This is a league cracking under pressure, exposing its soft spot for the world, and you're watching a play out in real time. Let's get into what's really happening behind the smoke and mirrors. The marketing department is in panic mode. They show fans a dream. Caitlin Clark, the next phase of basketball, the ratings magnet, the savior of women's sports. The problem when you build your entire empire on one player you don't is risk a setback. If she gets injured, you risk total collapse, and guess what? That's exactly what's happening. Clark MRS a few games, and some entire arenas look like someone pulled a fire alarm. Tickets go from gold Groupon viewership tanks like a canceled Netflix show. The merge tables deserted, and excuses, oh they're flying fast, it's early in the season. Fans will come back. It's his growing pains. No, it's structural failure disguised as a slump, and now everyone's scrambling to rewrite the script. What's even more wild, players like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi, how we're supposed to be next in line, gritty, exciting, marketable. But they're out to injuries again, and the league response to all this carnage mostly a blank stare and a vague wellness tweet. How are we still here? How player safety still treated like a luxury, not a necessity? And don't even start with it's just part of game. Sure, both physical, but when 3 high-profile players go down in a span of weeks, and the officiating looks like it was pulled from a rec league, you got a problem, not a storyline, a liability. Let's talk jealousy for a second. Don't want to say it out loud, but stick any air. Caitlin Clark has to be the face of league, but she's wearing a crown whether she likes it or not. And some players, they're not having it, from passive-aggressive post-game comments to mysteriously aggressive defense that borders on targeted bullying. It's clear that resentment is simmering. And the league, they're letting it happen. Why? Because mercy breeds clicks, and in a league struggling to keep the spotlight, drama has become the marketing plan. But here's the issue: when your best player becomes a punching bag, both literally and metaphorically, where you actually selling no one tunes and watch a scapegoat get hacked to pieces on national TV, and get excited by a jersey when the star attached to it is more bruised and celebrated, fanned, and sign up for a gladiator arena. They sign of the Watchtown, thrive, not survive in talent. It's being wasted right now. There's a whole generation of WNBA players with serious star power, charisma, skill stories. I deserve attention, but instead of building them up, the league has been laser focused on squeezing every ounce of juice from the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, and now that she's sidelined, it's like nobody else even knows how to dribble. Is not just bad business, it's insulting to the rest of the roster. Meanwhile, the league keeps talking about grow both, but you can't grow where you're not watering. You can elevate the product if you're too busy tripping over your own PR disasters. Speaking of PR, whereas the commissioner, oh right, she stormed out. Do you understand how insane that is? Imagine Adam Silver walking out on NBA game at quarter because the crowd was too quiet and LeBron was injured. It will be front page news. People will be asking if the league was collapsing. But here the commissioner quietly goes the building, and the lead tries to play it off like nothing happened. There's no accountability, no apology, no reassurance. The fans, just a vibe shift, and not a good way. And the timing couldn't be worse, because award season is right there hovering on a calendar like a bad sequel. No one asked for this. Is supposed to be the moment where the league celebrates excellence. Instead, it's going to turn into a political battlefield. Every Heavy-handed out is gonna be scrutinized. Every snob will spark another controversy, and every speech will feel like a hostage video with a smile. No, and trust the system right now. Fans are already predicting will be unfairly passed over, who be hyped beyond the performance, and will be conveniently forgotten. And here's still no one wants to ask, does anyone even want to win right now? What's the point of an MVP title if the leave behind it is falling apart? What is most valuable even mean in a system that doesn't protect his players, does reward growth, and doesn't know how to tell a coherent story? We're not watching basketball anymore. We're watching a car crash in slow motion. And look, the WNBA has so much potential. That's what makes this so frustrating. The fans are loyal, the town is deep, the stories are there, but the execution unbearable. When you have fans begging to lead to just act like they care, that's not drama, that's dysfunction. And here's the kicker, this could have been the breakout year. This was the perfect storm of opportunity, a generational rookie, mainstream media attention, new viewers ready to fall in love with the game. Instead, what are the league? Do they overhyped one player, ignore the others, failed protect any of them, and then pretend to like injuries and toxicity weren't red flags, but just narrative bumps? Let me be clear, this isn't a bump into full-on Cinco. And unless the league takes a long, hard look in a mirror, they're going to lose more than just ticket sales. They're going to lose trust from fans, from players, from future stars watching from college, wondering if his league is even worth the leap. That's the scariest part. The WNBA isn't just risking the season.